Far to the north, where mountains tear the sky and seas claw at the shore, there is a land older than memory, a land where the sun vanishes for months and then refuses to sleep, where warriors once carved their names into the oceans, and where storytellers still hold the keys to ancient worlds. This is Norway, a country born from ice, blood and fire, whose spirit has shaped stories we still tell today. Our journey begins over 10,000 years ago, as the last ice age released its grip on northern Europe. Glaciers, taller than the highest towers, pulled back into the mountains, leaving behind deep valleys that would become the fjords, those mighty inlets carved by the slow, merciless hand of nature. The first humans to enter this raw land were nomadic hunters following the reindeer north. In the south they became known as the Fosna culture, in the far north the Komsa. Their tools were simple, stone-tipped spears, fishing hooks carved from bone, but their mastery of survival in such a brutal climate was unmatched. They lived in small clans, moving with the seasons. Fire was their lifeline, its crackle the only comfort against the eternal winter night. They believed the world itself was alive with spirits, a belief that would echo down into Norse mythology thousands of years later. By 4,000 years before Christ, farming had reached these shores. Grain fields appeared in sheltered valleys. Sheep and goats grazed on rocky hillsides. Bronze arrived next, bringing with it weapons, ornaments and ceremonial axes that gleamed in the midsummer sun. Then came iron, stronger, sharper and more enduring, and with it the rise of chieftains, warriors and poets. Burial mounds swelled across the land, sometimes holding entire ships for the journey to the afterlife. Loyalty to kin and readiness for war became the heartbeat of these early Norwegians. And then the fire of the Viking Age. From the year 793 to 1066, Norway blazed onto the world stage. It began with the infamous raid on the monastery at Lindisfarne in England. To Christian Europe, it was a nightmare. Horned demons from the sea, though real Vikings never wore horns. The truth is more complex. Norwegian Vikings were explorers, traders, settlers, and yes, warriors. They sailed to Ireland and Scotland, to France and Spain, east through Russia to the Byzantine Empire, and west beyond the edge of maps to Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. Leif Erikson reached those distant shores 5 centuries before Columbus. Their secret was the longship, sleek, fast, and able to slip up shallow rivers or cut across the open sea. Life for them was a story framed by their gods. They believed in Odin, the All-Father, god of wisdom and war, in Thor, the thunderer, protector against giants, in Loki, the cunning trickster, and they knew that one day all things would end in fire and ice at Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. That fatalistic courage made them fearsome foes and unforgettable characters in history. But Norway was not yet a single kingdom. It was a patchwork of territories ruled by jarls and petty kings. Legend tells of Harald Fairhair, who vowed not to cut or comb his hair until he ruled them all. Through battle and cunning, he united much of Norway under his crown. By the 10th and 11th centuries, Christianity had arrived. Missionaries came with the cross, and kings like Olaf Tryggvason and Saint Olaf Haraldsson enforced the new faith. But the old ways lingered. Churches rose, carved from wood in the stave style, tall, dark structures where Christian crosses stood alongside dragons and knotwork from the pagan past. Then came the shadow of the Black Death. In 1349, the plague swept through Norway, killing nearly half the population. Entire villages vanished. The weakened kingdom fell into the Kalmar Union with Denmark and Sweden. Sweden later broke away, but Norway remained under Danish rule for more than 4 centuries. Danish became the language of the court and the elite, yet Norwegian culture survived in remote valleys, in folk songs, and in seasonal festivals. In 1814, after the Napoleonic Wars, Denmark ceded Norway to Sweden. Norway declared independence, wrote its own constitution, and enjoyed a brief taste of freedom before being pulled into a Swedish union. It would take until 1905 for the country to finally achieve full independence through a peaceful referendum. The 20th century would test Norway again. When Nazi Germany invaded in 1940, the occupation lasted 5 long years. The Norwegian resistance fought with courage, sabotaging railways, sinking ships, smuggling refugees to safety. The heavy water sabotage at Vemork, which crippled Nazi nuclear ambitions, became legendary. When liberation came in 1945, the country rebuilt quickly and took its place among modern democracies. In the 1960s, a discovery beneath the North Sea changed everything. Oil and gas, vast reserves. Managed with careful policy, this wealth funded schools, healthcare, infrastructure, and one of the strongest social safety nets in the world. Yet Norwegians never lost touch with their heritage. Fishing, skiing, hiking, these are still woven into daily life. Their music carries the voice of the land. The Hardanger fiddle, with its shimmering echoes, seems to hold the sound of wind over fjords. The hauling dance tests strength and skill, with men leaping high to kick a hat from a stick while women glide in graceful spins. And far to the north, the indigenous Sami people continue their own traditions. Reindeer herding, handcrafts, and the haunting joik, a form of singing that calls forth the very essence of a person, an animal, or a place. In the ancient world, Norwegians held seasonal feasts called blots, offering food, drink, and sometimes animals to honor gods and spirits. Burial rites sent the dead into the afterlife with weapons, tools, and treasures. Some were laid in ships, set aflame, and given to the waves. Norway's beauty and mythology have not gone unnoticed by the world of film. Frozen drew its castles and villages from Norwegian architecture and fjords. Marvel's Thor brought Norse gods to the big screen. The Northmen captured the brutality of Viking life. Even James Bond found himself chasing enemies through Norway's wild coast in No Time to Die. How to Train Your Dragon took its charm from Viking seafaring culture. From epic fantasy to action thrillers, Norway's influence runs deep. At the heart of Norwegian life are 2 values: friluftsliv, the open-air life, the belief that nature should be embraced in all seasons, and dugnad, the spirit of community where neighbours come together to help one another. Equality, modesty, and care for the environment are central. Norwegian men often grow up with outdoor skills, quiet confidence, and a love of the wild. Historically, they were farmers, sailors, and warriors. Norwegian women, from Viking shield maidens to modern leaders, have always been strong, independent, and deeply involved in both work and community. Norway's story, from Stone Age hunters to oil-era innovators, is one of survival, courage, and connection to the land. It is a living saga, where the past is not locked in museums, but alive in every national holiday, every folk dance, every trail through the mountains. Norway is not just a nation, it is a reminder that the greatest legends are the ones we are still living.